What's up everybody, I'm HoopsandHipHop, and hold on to your butts because the hype train is about to leave the station. Tomorrow we are receiving a dedicated Pokemon Sword and Shield Direct, and it has been reported to be a whopping 15 minutes long. This will most assuredly be a huge blowout of news as we head into E3, and will provide for a ton of new Sword and Shield videos over the coming weeks, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for that. But as we wait these last few hours for the big show, I thought it would be fun to give 5 predictions on what I think we could see from the Direct. It's honestly a bit tricky to predict this though, as not only do we know nothing about the game and therefore anything could be revealed, but it's also hard to gauge how eager the Pokemon Company is to reveal info on these games. Obviously they were way too eager with Sun and Moon, but have been very quiet on Sword and Shield up to this point, so it's really hard to know which way they're gonna go with these titles, but I personally hope they hold a lot back for us to discover when we finally play the games ourselves. With all that being said though, let's go ahead and get into my predictions for the Pokemon Sword and Shield Direct. First and foremost, we've got to start off with new Pokemon. It's obvious that some new Gen 8 Pokemon will be revealed in the Direct, and that's what everyone wants to see anyway, but how many and which ones will be revealed specifically? Well, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that 5 new Pokemon will be revealed. The 2 box art legendaries, which will both be wolves, as well as the standard starting bird, bug, and rodent of the region. The box art legendaries are kind of obvious, as you can't really have a blowout of information like this without revealing the mascots of the games themselves. I mean, that would just be weird, so those will definitely be revealed along with the box art itself and the release date, which I previously predicted as November 22nd, as this is not only a Friday when major games get released, but it's also the Friday before Black Friday, which not only makes all the sense in the world for obvious reasons, but it's also the day when many of the most recent Pokemon games have been released, and there's really no reason to change that now. As far as the Pokemon being wolves, I just have a good gut feeling about it. I think it would be weird to have a wolf head in the logo if the legendary was like a bird or something. I just don't think that makes sense, especially given the importance of what the logos represent as kind of a royal coat of arms, which usually depict important animals to a province or country, i.e. legendaries. Also, this isn't really another prediction, but I didn't know where else to put it, but that whole rumor about the legendaries being a metal snake and a wooden horse, I obviously don't think is real, and I personally believe that it'll get debunked in the Direct. Moving on to the other Pokemon though, I believe we'll also see the starting bird, bug, and rodent because they're obviously the first wild Pokemon you see in any given game, so it only makes sense for them to be the first Pokemon outside of the starters to be revealed as well, plus it seems to be something that the Pokemon Company have done in years past as well, so I think it's fairly likely. And I hope that we don't get any more than 5 Pokemon total, because I really want to be able to discover some brand new Pokemon for myself, you know? Next up though is what I believe will be the main feature of the Direct, and that's the introduction of this game's big new feature. If you haven't caught on, new Pokemon games always bring with them a fancy new feature like Mega Evolution with Gen 6 and Z-moves and Alola forms with Gen 7. We do know that we are going to get one because of the presence of a mysterious new logo that's been associated with the gyms that also appears in the Japanese logos for the games, which is a clear indicator of it being a big feature. As far as what I think it will be, it's honestly a crapshoot at this point, but I think it will have something to do with the stadium-like environment that these new gyms are set in. The best idea I have heard so far amongst the community was Loxton's idea of having to effectively win over the crowd, and this affecting your Pokemon's strength in battle depending on what side the crowd is on. I do also think there will be some type of feature that brings new forms to old Pokemon in some way, like we've seen with Megas and Alola forms, but I don't think it'll be Armored Evolution. I personally don't buy that, but I guess we'll find out tomorrow. The reason why I think this will be the main feature of the Direct though is because if you think about it, 15 minutes is a long time to talk about a new game, and if they just did Pokemon and story reveals, they could honestly spoil the whole game and Pokedex in that time. So I think they'll use the explanation of this new feature as a way to kind of not leave as much time for Pokemon reveals, just so we still get a lot of new info while not spoiling the whole game at the same time. For my third prediction, I believe we are going to be introduced to the Professor during this Direct. Now, this one isn't a huge reach because we usually are introduced to the new regional Professor shortly after a game's reveal, but it's still something that is definitely highly anticipated. But more so than the Professor being revealed in general, it's what the Professor will have to offer character-wise that's so interesting. What I mean by this first and foremost is their field of study. Every Professor from every region has a specific area of the Pokemon world that they specialize in, and usually it has to do with the big new feature of the games, like Professor Sycamore studying Mega Evolution or Professor Elm studying breeding, for instance. And because of that, I believe the Professor of the Galar region will study something to do with Pokemon battling. I say this because one, it's most likely that the new feature of these games has to do with battling, and because this hasn't really been covered by any Professor before, so overall that's a pretty straightforward assumption. What isn't straightforward though is what the name of this character is going to be. We do know that Professors are always named after trees, so that does give us something to work with, and some of the time it has to do with a tree local to the area that the new region is based on, so that allows us to reasonably predict that the tree will be named on a significant tree from the UK. There's just one problem. Most of the iconic and national trees of the UK are all oak trees. England's national tree is the Royal Oak, and Northern Ireland and Wales both have the Cecil Oak as their national tree, which leaves only Scotland to pick from in terms of area, and its national tree is the Scots Pine, which is an oak, but in my opinion, Professor Pine just doesn't really have a good ring to it, and Professor Scots is a little too obvious in terms of inspiration. So then we go back to the oak trees. Obviously, we already have a Professor Oak, but could this mean that the new Professor could have some kind of relationship with him? Part of me wants to say no because we just barely got Samson Oak in Gen 7, which is more or less the same type of thing we're talking about here, but if there's one thing you can never underestimate, it's how much Game Freak wants to pander the crap out of Gen 1, so for that reason, I'm gonna go with Professor Pine as my prediction, who is the pupil of Professor Oak. You heard it here first. Okay, now here's a prediction you probably didn't see coming. Trains. With all the talk of starter evolutions and armored evolutions and your mom's evolutions, wait a minute, did I just make a your mom joke in my video? You know what, I'm gonna have to retract that statement. Any moms out there watching, I apologize. You're beautiful people, keep doing what you're doing. Anyways though, with the focus of Sword and Shield hype on all this other stuff, the presence of trains in this region is definitely getting overlooked a little bit. Not only were they prominent in the reveal trailer, but you can see train tracks and train stations dotted all over the map and appearing as early as what seems to be one of the very first towns you visit. This is why I believe trains aren't just going to be a means of transportation in this game, but actually a significant feature, or at least one of the smaller new features of these games. I feel like that whenever you get on a train for the first time, you won't just be fast traveling to the next town, but you'll have something to do on the train while you wait to get there. Now, this could go down the route of the battle subways in Black and White, where you just battle a few trainers until it's your time to get off, but what I think would be way better and just fantastic in general is if the trains were explorable and you could walk from one cart to the next, talking to various NPCs. Maybe there could even be a side quest within the trains that you have to complete before you're able to get off, similar to the SS Aqua quest where you have to help that one grandpa guy find his granddaughter on the ship. This would actually be pretty simple to implement, but I think it would make for a tremendous difference in the quality and depth of this game if they just went that extra half a mile to put this in the game, and it would be a perfect way to highlight the importance of the trains within Galar as well as the UK that it is based on. It would also make sense in a direct like this, as it would provide one of those things that require a technical explanation like I was talking about earlier in order to fill up the runtime. And for my final prediction, I believe we will also see the Evil Team make their debut in this Direct. Admittedly, I was teetering on this one because due to my hope that they don't reveal too much tomorrow, I wasn't sure if showing off the Evil Team would be going over the edge, but I figured they would probably show it for one big reason. It seems like, for the most part, most new games at some point will show off some semblance of their antagonists during the promotional period, just to give the player a sense of what's going on and what they're up against, and I feel like like with this direct, it's what's really going to tell us what this game is all about, so an evil team introduction makes a lot of sense here. However, because of hope more than an actual prediction, I'm going to say that the leader of the evil team doesn't get revealed. This is because, once again, I don't want them to give away the whole game so we can actually have a chance to discover some things on our own, and they could definitely show off the evil team itself and what they're all about without showing who their leader is, which would be much better to meet for the first time in game as opposed to in a trailer. As far as what they're all about, once again, it's kind of a crapshoot, but I'm really hopeful that they go for more of a steampunk type of look, because not only would this be insanely cool for an evil team, but it would also avoid your stereotypical red coat / Cockney type of evil team that everyone would attribute to a UK-based region at first glance, but it would still also fit the theme of industry and culture that the region has as well. And finally, your guess is as good as mine as to what their motives will be, but if my big theory on how Generation 8 as a whole will play out is correct, then I could see this team and their motives revolving to a certain degree around the concept of time. And speaking of time, that is all the time I have for this video, so there you have it. Those are my predictions for what we will see tomorrow in the Sword and Shield Direct. Now, to give you a quick rundown of what's going to happen, essentially I will be posting a video of my impressions tomorrow immediately following the Direct, and from there we will follow the regular Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday upload schedule, but it will be jam-packed with tons of Sword and Shield content covering everything about these games that you're going to want to know. So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you haven't yet so you don't miss out. Also, give this video a like if you enjoyed it because it helps out a lot, and let me know your thoughts on my predictions in the comments below. Be sure to check me out on Spotify as well to directly support the channel by listening to my remixes, which is very much appreciated. And last but not least, follow the link in the description to check out my new Pokemon podcast that I'm doing every Friday over on the UCast Studios YouTube channel, which will also include topics on Sword and Shield as well. Anyways though, I will see you guys tomorrow for all the fun, and until then, I hope you know I love you guys, and I will smell you guys later.